All right, welcome to today's class on Docusign 101. My name is Leah with Scott Leroy Marketing. In today's class, I'll be taking you through all the basics that you need to know on Docusign. So we'll be taking a look at how to get into Docusign, how to utilize that, how it's similar to Dotloop, okay, how to add PDFs to your Docusign room, it's called, how to edit interactive forms and send those to your clients to be electronically signed. Okay, so if you've been using Dotloop in the past, it is similar in a lot of ways. Okay, so the learning curve will, help you out if you've already learned how to use Dotloop, as it is similar navigation. So the first thing we'll want to do is log into Command. So to log into Command, that is agent.kw.com. You'll see that on the top of my screen here. If you have not already, it's a great idea to bookmark that. Yeah, I have that bookmarked on my bookmark bar as well here. So again, that's agent.kw.com to log in. And your username and password here will be the same username and password as you use for MyKW and for Kelly. So they're trying to streamline all the usernames and passwords, which thank God, because I don't know about you, but I have enough passwords to remember. All right, so that'll be the same here. And just a heads up, that password is case sensitive and requires an uppercase letter and a lowercase letter and a number for that matter. And you can go ahead and click sign in. Of course, you have this forgot password option here as well if you need to reset that. Or you can always email support@scottleroymarketing.com. We're happy to help you reset your password and sign in. All right, so that'll take you right on into your command account. And it'll take you actually into your command dashboard, which is relatively new, I want to say within the last 3 months or so here. Some things to point out. One of my favorite things, just a side note about this dashboard, is all these product updates. So as you know, KW International is doing updates to the system weekly, monthly. Okay, so you'll see actually weekly updates right here. You'll see what's going on with little links to how to learn that item. So keep an eye on this. That's really helpful. You'll see what's new. And on the top right, you can also toggle on over to what's next. So what are they launching next? That will be available to you. So you can check that out on the top right here. But where we'll actually want to start is up on the top right. We just need to do a little homework. Let's go ahead and click on your name on the top right of your command account to make sure that Docusign is connected up properly to your command account. So from your name on the top right, go ahead and select Settings. So again, we clicked on our name on the top right and then Settings from that drop down. And that will take you immediately on over to the apps that are connected to your command account. So a very cool feature about Command is that you can connect external apps to your account to integrate that in right away. So for this class specifically, we'll need to make sure that Docusign is connected up. So at the top of your screen here, you'll see your connected apps. So if you are seeing Docusign at the top and it says disconnect account on the right-hand side, that has already been connected up. Okay, so your connected apps will show at the top here, but if you're not seeing Docusign there, go ahead and scroll on down and you should see that on the lower options here. And you will have to click connect account next to Docusign to link that up. Okay, it'll prompt you to go ahead and put in your username and password for Docusign. If you have any trouble with that, feel free to email us. Again, support@scottleroymarketing.com, and we're happy to connect that up for you. Okay. But again, you'll want to make sure that you are seeing Docusign near the top of your screen to indicate that has been connected to Command. All right, so now that we have our Docusign account all hooked up, let's go on over to our opportunities on the left-hand side. Okay, so very much like Dotloop, and I'll be paralleling Dotloop a lot in this class today just to help draw similarities. Just like we would sign into MyKW to access Dotloop, you will do the same thing. You will log into Command first in order to access your Docusign account. Okay, so where you'll want to go is on the left-hand side. You'll want to click on the handshake icon. And just a little tip for this menu on the left-hand side. As you're learning these icons, you'll notice if I hover my mouse over any of those icons, it pops up telling me what that item does. Or also, if you click on the KW logo on the top left, it'll pull out this window here so it can tell you what each item does while you're still trying to learn it. So another big thing that I love about Command is they have really centralized everything on the left-hand side menu here. All your navigation will sit here, whereas the old MyKW system was a little all over the place, which made it more challenging to learn. This is a great new update of Command. So again, we are in the Opportunities section, the handshake icon on the left-hand side. And in order to create a Docusign room, okay, you've probably been hearing that, Docusign room, you're probably like, what is that? Okay, a Docusign room is the same thing as a loop in .loop, okay? They're just called rooms in Docusign. So in order to create a Docusign room, you need to create an opportunity first. So you would do that by clicking on Create Opportunity on the very top right. And just a heads up, we do have an opportunity sales pipeline class that focuses on this specifically with way more information on all of this. So feel free to check that out on slmtraining.com as well. I believe it's also on the last Friday of this month is the live class. All right, so we're clicking Create Opportunity on the top right here. And it will prompt you to fill in some information here. So you only have to fill in the information that has the red asterisk next to it. So you'll see that red star here, and that does mean it is required. So if you're a part of more than one market center, make sure you are selecting the correct market center when creating the opportunity. If you are a part of a team, you can select the team name here. And if you're not seeing your team name display there and you are on a team, just make sure you reach out to your MCA, and your MCA will need to add you to the team from the Team Administration tool. Moving right along here, we have the opportunity type. Again, we see the red asterisk, so we'll need to go ahead and select if that's a listing, buyer, landlord, tenant. In today's class, I'll go ahead and stick with listing. Okay, in this owner box here, you will always see your name there. And you'll see that's grayed out, and that's a little confusing sometimes because we think of owner as owning the property. In this case, this is talking about the owner of the opportunity, okay, the owner of this transaction. So that will always be you, and there's not a way to change that. And then the client here. So you will have to have your contact already added in to your contacts here in order to create this opportunity, right? So if I go ahead and type in, let's say, the client name, right, it will pop up a little drop down indicating that that client is already in your contacts. Okay, so it does need to be done in that order. Your contact will need to be in your command database. All right, and that command database is the two little people hanging out on the left-hand side menu there. So you can go ahead and select your name for today's class, or if you have any test contact in there that you can use, feel free to right away. It's always great to have a test contact in there so you can practice on yourself or a test contact before trying this out on an actual client. Always helps to look like you know what you're doing. All right, so we have the opportunity name. So that will default here with the last name of the client and then the opportunity type. Much like a dot loop, you'll want to go ahead and name this the property address if you know that. So go ahead and type in 123 Main Street or 123 Practice. Okay, whatever you'd like to name this for today's class. I realize if you're representing the buyer, you won't know the property address right out the bat, and that's totally fine. It's very easy to change once you set this up at any time. The only thing you're not able to change, guys, is the client. Right, so make sure you are associating it to the correct client. And just a heads up, you can also add a co-seller to the right-hand side here. Forgot to mention that here. You can also create custom tags to make this easier to find if you want to add this as a foreclosure or short sale or a listing, okay, whatever tag might ring a bell for you and your organization. Only you'll see that. We have an estimated close date. Okay, again, these fields aren't asterisked, so you do not have to fill in these fields, but you sure can. And this opportunity phase and stage on the bottom here, what this correlates to are these phases. So you'll see across the sales pipeline here, 5 different phases. We have the cultivate phase, the appointment, active phase, under contract, and close phase. So the cultivate phase is the very first one. Okay, if this listing is already active, you can go ahead and put them in the active phase if you would like. Okay, but the cultivate phase, in case you're wondering what that is, it's kind of like you just met the contact and you're trying to grow the relationship, hence the cute little plant here. All right, so let's say I already have this one in appointment, so you can change that as needed here. And you also have an opportunity stage. Okay, and once you go into the sales pipeline, it will allow you to customize these stages here, and so you can make it your own for your business. Again, we have way more information on this on the Sales Pipeline Opportunities class. Check that out on slmtraining.com. All right, so let's say I have this in scheduled. And this is just saying where you want the opportunity to display in the sales pipeline. Okay, only you can see that. Your client cannot. So I'll go ahead and click Create Opportunity here. And that will take us on over to the opportunity details. Okay, and you'll see a couple different options on the very top here of what you can do with your opportunity. In today's class, we'll want to focus on the document section here. So go ahead and click on that documents option. All right, and once I click on the documents option, you may see some placeholders here of different items that you need to add in, different forms you need to add in. So let me go ahead and pull one of those up. So if it says what I'm seeing on my screen here, I'm going to select a type. So let's say this is a North Carolina listing. Okay, I confirm I want to bring that in, and that will show me all the forms that I am required to add into my opportunity for compliance in order to get paid. Okay, so these are just placeholders. These are not the actual forms, and I'll be showing you in just a little bit here how you can add the files into your opportunity in order to submit this to your Market Center to be compliance reviewed. Okay, so again, what this section does is purely to add your forms in, to share it with your Market Center so they can do compliance review, so you can get that big shiny check after it closes. Okay. So that's what this does, and we'll revisit this after we talk about Docusign a little more, so towards the end of class. For now, though, we want to go ahead and click Start a Transaction on the top right. I believe that it might also say Go to Transactions, okay, if you've already started a transaction. Okay, either one it says, we'll want to go ahead and click on that button on the top right. Now, if you have dot loop hooked up, that may display as well. However, this class is on Docusign, so we'll be selecting Docusign from that dropdown. Okay, and that should take you on over immediately to your Docusign account. It may prompt you to log in. I know they've been working on that, so if it prompts you to log into Docusign, go ahead and put in your Docusign email address and click Next and Docusign password, okay, to go to where I am on my screen here right away. All right, and I'll pause for a moment to allow you to catch up if you're putting in your login information, because I just want to point out that yes, we got to Docusign by going through command, and that is the best way to start a transaction so it links up properly to your opportunity. However, if you just need to quickly get to your Docusign room to grab a form, you can always go to realestate.docusign.com directly to log in. So that's on the top of my screen here. I'll send that out. So realestate.docusign.com is a direct link over to Docusign, so you can log in directly there. Right? But when you're starting a Docusign room, starting a transaction, make sure to go through the pattern that we just did to create the opportunity first, so it will link up to command. Very important on that. All right, also, while we're waiting for you to get here, I also want to send you guys some notes that I have written out on Docusign. So this is a shareable Google Doc here, and that will have everything I'm saying written out so that you can reference this if you want to print it out and put it in your office so that you can reference it the next time you're going through Docusign. Feel free. Okay. So now hopefully we're all in our Docusign room. And again, just a reminder that Docusign Rooms, right? You'll see that term on the top here is the same thing as a loop in dot loop. So you'll have a Docusign room per property that you sell or per transaction. So let's take a look at some of the navigation going across the top of our screen here. So on the left-hand side, let's actually start on details. All right, so we're clicking on details on the very top left of this menu. And this is very much so like the Hang on, please. Sure, we'll do. I'll hang on. So what this section is, this details section is, it's very much like the view details section within Dotloop, right? Any information that you put into this details section will automatically populate onto your forms. So any forms that you bring into your Docusign room, if you put the contact information in here or property information, it will autofill on your forms. So it's a great time saver. Not to mention, if you are a new agent and looking at these 10-page forms, like where do I put the information? Docusign knows where that information goes and will place it on the form for you. So it's a great learning tool for new agents as well. Okay, now whoever asked me to hang on, don't worry, I won't go further from the details section, but for right now, let's go ahead and edit this. So let's go ahead and click on Edit on the very top right to put in some of this info, just so we can see what it looks like when it autofills. So I'll click Edit on the top right. Okay, and so we can put in some of the property information here. So on the main column here, so the column on the left-hand side, this will be all the property information, whereas the column on the right-hand side, that will be all the seller info. So let's start with the property details. First of all, you'll notice you can go ahead and change the name of the room at any time. You can also change the side. So if you're on the list side right now, but you procure the buyer as well, go you. You can change that to list and buy side, just a heads up. You can toggle any of this information here. Go ahead and put in the MLS ID. Let's go ahead and put in the address. Oops. All right, so if you would like to do this with me, go ahead and put in the address here so you can see what it looks like when this autofills. I'm just going to put in some of the property address information here. All right, it's asking for the property type, so I'll go ahead and put in that it's residential, year built, and so forth. So you can scroll down to see all the different information that you can put in. On the details page, it says created by the MCA's name, not me. Let's see, yes. Probably this is what you're referring to. That will always say your MCA's name or the staff's name there. So that will not say your name. You'll see that as well in the people section in just a moment because it shows your market center as the owner of the Docusign room, technically, right? Because you're creating that under your market center. So that is correct. There's nothing wrong with your account. That is how it's supposed to display. All right, so you can scroll down and see all the information that you can fill in. Guys, this is optional. So if you're in a hurry, you don't have to fill this in, but it will save you time down the road since you're adding documents and it will autofill this information in. So on the right-hand side here, we'll see the seller's name. So we can go ahead and put in our seller's name, Hermione Granger for any Harry Potter fans. All right, and you can put in their contact information as well. So you can put in any of their contact information, and we have a seller too as well as we scroll down on the right hand side. So let's say Ronald Weasley is going to be the co-seller here. Happy little fam. All right, so you can fill in as much of this info as you would like to, but again, this is not mandatory. The only fields that are mandatory are the ones that are marked with a red asterisk. Okay, so if you see the red asterisk, you do have to fill that in. All right, so make sure you click on Save on the very bottom right. So we're saving on the very bottom right, and it will give you this nice confirmation that it's been updated. So it does not pull the contact info. Yeah, great question. I have not seen that it pulls the contact info over from command. Same with in command, there is a detail section for the opportunity, and I have not seen that it pulls it over into Docusign quite yet. We're hoping that Keller Williams International will update that so that it will pull it over so you don't have to enter that in twice. But for right now, unfortunately, you're correct. You would have to manually enter in the contact information. Also, for rental listing where the commission is, sorry, let me read that 1 second here. For rental listing where commission is a dollar amount versus a percentage, how do we enter that? That's a great question. That has come up before. Let me take a look at that for you. because I have seen a lot of the commission rates are a percentage amount. If you don't mind, if you could email support@scottleroymarketing.com, and you can put attention my name, which is Leah, Leah. I'd be more than happy to look into that for you to find the best route on that, and I will give you an answer on that. So I'll do research for you. So again, email support@scottleroymarketing.com, and I'll find an answer for you right after class. All right, so let's go ahead and go across the top of our toolbar here, just to point out different places that you will need to go. So Documents is the next section, and this is where you'll be spending a vast majority of your time within Docusign. So this is where you'll be adding documents to your Docusign room, editing the forms and sending them off for your clients to sign. Okay, and we'll be spending a lot of time in today's class here as well. But first, let's come on over to the People section. So move to the right to the People section, and you will see your office staff here. You'll always see your name, and whoever asked that question about seeing your MCA or your office as the room owner, you'll see that again here, and that is how it's supposed to be set up, so you're good on that. But now we need to add our clients in. So what we need to do is click on Invite on the very top right. So again, I clicked on the blue Invite button on the very top right. And let's go ahead and put in their email address. So email address, their name. So again, you'll see that red asterisk next to the required fields, which is all of them in this case. All right, you're selecting the transaction side. So this is the seller. And the role. I only have the client role, so I believe that's pretty standard. All right, so I'm selecting the role as client here. And we'll click Invite. Okay, so it's very easy to add in a client. Is this going to actually send them an email now? Should we do a test email? I would do a test email. However, I have not seen that it sends them any sort of email when you just add them. So you're good on that. But still, I would recommend, that was actually a good question, I would recommend using a personal email address that you have, so one that's not associated to your Docusign account, so you can see what it looks like when your clients receive forms to sign in Docusign. Great question there. But no, I have not seen that it actually sends out an email at this time when you add them in. All right, so let's invite one more person here. You do not have to do this. I just want to add a second client here. Whoops. So that you can see what it looks like if there's like a husband and wife in a transaction. So email address first, which I like to switch that up. All right, we're selecting the transaction type here. So I'm selecting that as a listing. And the role, I'm selecting client again. I'll click Invite. All right, and Ronald has been added in. All right, so we now have our two clients here. So now we can start working with them. Okay. So what I would like you to do, and we'll go through the rest of these across the top here, but let's dive into the document section here. So those are the main things that you need to do as you create a Docusign room. We fill in the details first. We then go to the people section to invite our clients. And then we can come on over to the document section. Okay, so we can add in our documents. Okay, so where you'll need to go next is click Add on the very top right, that big blue button there. And you'll have a few different options here under Add. You'll have an option to add it from your computer. So if you have a PDF, you can add that here. Where do we add co-op agents? So if you are working on the same side of a transaction as another agent, you can add them in the people section as well. But I realized the only role we had was client. So great question here. If they are on your team, so if you are on a team with someone, they will be added to your Docusign room automatically. But if it's another agent, let's test this out. So I'm going to test this out, guys. 1 second. That was a great question. Yeah, because right now I only see the client role, which I believe is pretty standard in all of your accounts. I will have to do research on that as well. It's a really great question. I'm sorry, I don't know the direct answer on that. Same response as the question previously. I'd be happy to do research on it. Shoot an email to support@scottleroymarketing.com. Attention my name, Leah, Leah, and I'll be happy to take a look at that. That's a really great question. But again, if you are on a team with someone, so if you're on the same real estate team, they will automatically display in your Docusign people section. But if you have to manually add them, I'll just need to figure out what role you'll need to assign to them. So shoot me an email and I will give you a better answer on that. All right, so let's come on over to Documents. We're back over to Documents. We're going to click Add on the very top right. And again, we have a few options here. We'll be taking a look at the computer option and the Docusign Forms. So the computer option, if that is saved to your computer as a PDF, you can add that from your computer, and we'll be doing that in a moment here. But first, we're going to start with Docusign Forms. So these Docusign Forms are interactive forms. And what I mean by interactive is that you can just start typing in them, right? You've seen like the fields in Dotloop that you can just start typing in. Same concept here. But just a heads up, you can add a zip form account. So if you have a zip form account, you can link that in to pull up your forms that way. And you have a Dropbox and Google Drive option and Box as well if your forms are in there, right? But the main two that you'll be using is Computer and Docusign Forms. So I'll go ahead and click on Docusign Forms. And that will pull up this box here, right? So if you want to hook up to your association, you can put in your NERDS ID and select your association. So from this drop-down, these are all of the associations that are currently available. Okay, if you're not seeing your association from this list, okay, it is not available in Docusign at this time. All right, but you can, if you do see your association, go ahead and click on that, and then put in your NERDS ID. Okay, the NERDS ID is a little fickle, as your name has to be the exact same in your Docusign account as it is with NRDS. Okay, so if that gives you any trouble, I do have a short tutorial on how to fix that. 1 second. Right, so if you are trying to link up your NERDS ID and have any trouble with it, that video will walk you through it. And of course, you can email support@scottleroymarketing.com and we can help you as well. But in this case, I'm going to go ahead and click Skip. You can also tell it not to show you that again. So I'll click Skip. And that will take you on over to the Docusign forms that you have available to you. Now on the top drop down, you'll have two options. The Docusign Forms library, which will show you all the forms available, all in one folder, if you will, on one library. And then you have an option for groups, okay? And your office staff sets this up for you. So if you do not have forms available in here right now, so if it says no forms available, or you're not seeing them when you click on the bottom drop down, your office is still working with Docusign in order to get all forms added into Docusign directly. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with your account. They're still working on that. And you can use PDFs, which I'll show you in the next portion of class. So I'm going to select groups because I want to see all my forms divided up by groups. It helps me find them more easily. In the second drop down, I'll see the different form groups, again, that my market center added in. So yours will look different because you're in a different market center than I am. So if I go ahead and click on, let's say, this listing file, it will pull up all the forms that are in that form group. Now to pull that in further, I can use the search field right here to search for the form I'm looking for. So if I'm looking for, let's say, a listing agreement, I can type in the word listing and click on any forms that I need to pull in on the left-hand side. All right, so go ahead and check the check boxes here, the check dots, and click Add to pull those forms into your Docusign room. All right, it'll reload the page and I now see those two Docusign forms in my room. Okay, so now to edit that further, so I have them in my room and I'm now ready to edit that form. So all I need to do is simply click on the form to open that up on my screen right away. Okay, so I do have this form here, and it did pull in the client's names automatically, right? Because I entered that in the details section near the beginning of class. So that will autofill that there. And it is also auto-filling the property address. So you'll see that is already entered in because I put that in the detail section. So it's saving me time. That's the goal of that detail section. So from here, you'll see these are fillable fields. So I can simply click to start typing to put in the information that's required. Okay, so you can go down the entire form and you can click on any fields in order to fill that in right away. Okay, so in theory, what you would want to do is go through the entire form to type in any of the fields. You can click any of the dots to select that right away. Okay, so it's pretty intuitive on how to actually fill in the form. It's simply clicking and typing. Now, in order to get it signed, so now what you have done, so use your imagination here, we went through the entire form and filled everything out. Now we want our clients to electronically sign the form. So what we would do, so you'll see a little icon on the very top right. It looks like a little piece of paper with like a little dog ear at the top, right, folded over. So those will be your document actions. So in your document actions here, we have a few options. We can rename the document, you can move it, email or fax it, and the Docusign option here will allow you to get that electronically signed. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on Docusign from here. Okay, remember this little pen icon because this will come up again. So in this case, we're clicking Docusign. And I have seen it takes Docusign a couple seconds to load. Just a heads up on that. So at the top here, so this will take you on over to your envelope. Okay, so what they call this an envelope, and I like to think of snail mail to try and tie this together in my brain. Okay, so think of this section as, all right, you typed up the form, or I'm sorry, you typed up the form and it's in your hand, right? You have the physical form in your hand. You're now stuffing it in an envelope, putting it in the mailbox so it can send off to your clients so they can sign it. Okay, so that's why it's called envelope here. So we are now stuffing the form. So here's our form. We stuffed in an envelope. And we now need to put in the recipients. Okay, so there's a few fields you'll need to fill out. You don't have to change the envelope name. I personally like to because I like to see which form I'm sending. So let's say I'm sending the listing agreement. I like to add that at the top because, you know, as you go through your transaction, you're going to be sending quite a few forms to your clients to sign. So I like to be able to see, you know, which in the envelope, which form I sent or forms I sent to the client at that time. So now that I can see that I have the correct document in, the main thing you have to do here is add the recipients, right? Just like a normal snail mail envelope, you got to go ahead and add the address it's going to. So we'll click on Add Recipients. And you have a few options here. You can add them from the room. You can add them by email address. So if you have not already added them to your room, you can add them at this point. But I'm going to select the top option of pre-tagged roles. I'll show you why in just a moment here. So pre-tagged roles. I am going to tell Docusign who my seller is, my seller 1, my seller 2, and who the listing agent is, so that Docusign knows where on the form each person needs to sign. So from that drop down, it should show you your clients that are in this room. So I'll go ahead and select my client from that drop down. Seller 2 here, we'll go ahead and select my second seller if that applies in this transaction. And for listing agent, I want to go ahead and select myself. Okay, so all you're doing is clicking on the drop-down box and selecting their name from your list here. Okay, and those will only display on the list if you've already added them in the people section of your Docusign room like we did in today's class. So I'll click Add Selected. Now, once you click to Add Selected, there are a couple features that Dotloop did not have that you can decide in this section here. So first of all, you'll see a 1 next to each one of your contacts on the left-hand side. That is saying in what order do they receive this Docusign document. Okay, so if I want them all to receive this form at the same exact time, I'll leave them all in the default, which is all 1s. But let's say I don't want the husband to receive the form until the wife signs it first. In that case, I would go ahead and change that to a 2 here so that the husband here does not receive the form until the wife signs it. Sorry. Another feature that is in Docusign that Dotloop did not have is you have the option to give it a password. Okay, so you can password protect the form. So in this more option here, you'll see you can add access authentication. So if I click on that here, I can add, let's say, whatever password I would like. And I'll tell you some information here. Codes are not case sensitive, and you must provide the code to the signer. That's the main thing. If you set a code, if you set a password, you have to tell your client for them to be able to access that. Just heads up on that. But you can password protect it, which is pretty cool. All right, so now that our recipients are added in, let's go ahead and scroll to the bottom where we have the email subject and email message. So again, this is not a required field, but if you would like to add a message, you could add something like, hello, please sign the attached form that we talked about over the phone. Let me know if you have any questions at all. Okay, any additional information that you want to go ahead, maybe you want to explain something you put into the form, you can put that in right here. And once you're done with that, we'll come up to the top right and click Next. Just a heads up though, if you are not ready to send this envelope, right, you have it, you want to get all this done, but you need to send it maybe in a couple hours or tomorrow, you can click Save and Close, and you can always come back and send this off right away. So I'll go ahead and click on Next though in this case, if I want to go ahead and send this. So Next on the top right. And again, it takes a couple seconds to load from what I've noticed. Okay, but you'll see it's loading maybe on the top tab of your browser. All right, and that'll take you on over to your form. And as you scroll down, let's go ahead and take a look at the initial fields. Okay, you'll see on the bottom 3 different colors of tabs that people who can sign. So where that correlates to, so you'll notice my sellers are blue and purple. Where that correlates to on the top left, you might see your name if you added your name to the Docusign room, okay, or your client's name. You can see that my client 1, Hermione Granger, is blue, so that correlates to this blue signing field. So that's where she's going to be signing, any blue fields. Any purple fields will be signed by Ronald Weasley, okay, my second client. You can add additional fields, so on the left-hand side, if you need to add any additional fields, you do have that option here, and I'll be diving much deeper into that when we add a PDF in just a moment here, so hang tight on that. But all you need to do, right, because in theory we went through and we already typed in the form, right, in the first step of this process. So now really all you need to do is click Send to send that off. However, I like to go ahead and click on Recipient Preview on the top right, so I can see that I set it up correctly. So if you click on Recipient Preview, again, that was on the top right. Okay, you can see who you're viewing it as on the top left. So I want to view that as my client, so I know that they're able to sign. So I'll change that to my client's name. I can, on the very top, view it on a computer or a tablet or let's say a phone. And you can see once they click Start, how that takes them to the first field here to go ahead and sign that right away. Okay, they click Next. This is exactly what it looks like for your clients to go through and sign. I just like to look at this for peace of mind that I did this correctly, especially since Docusign is so new. All right, and I X'd out of it on the top right there, so you can X out to get back to our form that we are now ready to send off. So I'll simply click Send on the very top right. Again, if you used a personal email address to add a client in, I would definitely go ahead and click to send that off so you can see what it looks like when you receive that in your email account. Okay, so that will now take us directly back over to the envelope section, which is one of the sections we haven't gone over yet. Okay, so this envelope section will show you all of the different envelopes, right? All the different times that you sent off a form, right? So go channel back to snail mail to make sense of this. Every time you put all your forms in one envelope and sent it off, that will show each time. So as I continue throughout the transaction, sending off forms, I will have more and more envelopes here in order so I can see when the forms went out. Okay. If it's a form that you need to sign, just a heads up, if you click on that envelope, you will have more options here. So first of all, it shows that you need to sign it. So as the agent, I need to sign the listing agreement. You click on the envelope, and then you will be able to sign it from here as well. You can also correct that if you need to make any edits to it. And there's more option here. So let's say you talk to your client and they said, we didn't receive that. You can resend that here as well. And of course, you can void it and view envelope history. You can see the different options here as well, but resending is a particularly helpful one. All right, so I'm going to X out of this as well. So you'll see that X on the top right to get back to my envelopes. Okay, and before we add in a PDF, I'm just going to continue through this toolbar here. You will notice messages. So if you need to message anyone within your room, you can shoot them a message right here. So by clicking Start a New Topic, you'll see it says New Topic on the top right quite a bit throughout Docusign, and that's what that's referring to. You can send a message to any of the people in your Docusign room. And lastly, we have the history section. So this will show you every time a document is signed, every time a document is sent, anytime people are added in, or the room is created, and so forth. Okay, so I'll show you all the history with a time and date stamp on the far right-hand side. Okay, so let's go on back to the document section to take a look at adding in a PDF now. Okay, so we're in the document section. And before I add a PDF, one more thing I want to point out that I found helpful in organizing my Docusign room. On the top right, you'll see an Actions option where you can add a folder. So as you know, there are about 1 million different forms that you have to add throughout your transaction. So I like to break that up into folders so that when I look at my Docusign room, I'm not totally overwhelmed trying to find one document. So if I click Add Folder under Actions here, let's say, I can go ahead and add in, I like to add for a listing 3 different folders. So I might add a listing folder, click Create. Okay, so I have that added in. Coming back up to Actions, I'll add a folder here again and name this one the Sales folder for all of my under contract forms, let's say. Maybe like the offer to purchase, the fully signed residential property disclosure, and so forth. Anything that goes along with the offer, and click Create. And last but not least, my personal favorite folder, which is the Closing folder. So come back to Actions, Add Folder again, and I'll go ahead and do the Closing folder and Create. So again, for a listing, I like to have 3 different folders: a listing folder, sales folder, and closing folder. Okay, and for if it's a sale, if you're representing the buyer, I typically have 2 folders, a sales folder and then a closing folder. Now it's very easy to move forms from one folder to another, which is different from Dotloop as well. So if you click on the form, you can click and hold and drag it up to the folder that you want to add that to. Now when I hover over the correct blue box I want to drop that in, you'll see it gives a dark outline. Then I can release my mouse to move that up to the sales folder. Okay, or whichever folder you're trying to add that to, in this case, listing folder. So I can do that for both of my forms. Now move to the listing folder. So it's as easy as dragging and dropping for that. Okay, so now let's talk about adding PDFs. So far what we've done in class is edit interactive forms, right? We could just type in a form. Now the nature of a PDF means it's not editable off of default, okay? So when you would use this, what I'm about to show you, let's say the agent on the other side who doesn't use Docusign sends you an email with the attached offer to purchase signed by their clients. So now you have a PDF in your email, you saved it to your computer, it's signed by the clients on the other side, so let's say the buyers have signed it, and now I need to add it to my Docusign room so I can edit it and also send it to my clients to be electronically signed. Okay, that's what we're doing now. So what you'll do first is we'll come up to Add, on the top right. So it's a very similar process here. So we're coming up to Add on the top right and clicking Computer this time. So again, we save the PDF to our computer first. That would in theory be the first step. And we'll click Add from Computer. It will then start browsing your computer so you can navigate on over to wherever you have saved that. And I'll double click on that form to pull that in right away. Now off the bat, I can see that this is different, right? You'll see that little PDF icon here, whereas you'll see on the interactive forms we were dealing with previously have a forms icon. So that's how you can quickly look at that and see if it's a PDF or an interactive Docusign form. So in this case, I have the PDF, and I can go ahead and click on that to open it up. And as you can see, I can't just click to start editing it, right? That's the nature of a PDF, right? But I'm going to show you what steps you can take to edit the PDF in just a moment here. Now, this document actions on the top right, the little icon of a piece of paper, you do have a few options here. So we can rename that. Okay, you can split the form. So if you need to send, like a lot of offers I've seen have on the last page, it needs to be signed for receipt of earnest money. Okay, so that doesn't need to go along with the initial offer a lot of times, right? That needs to be signed separately. So if you ever need to use the split tool here, you can split off that last page so that you can sign for the receipt of earnest money, or whoever needs to do that there. So that's what that's used for. You can move the form, so that's moving it to a different Docusign room. Okay, we have some email, fax, the download option. Okay, that'll download it to your computer. You can print it from here as well. But let's talk about the Docusign option. The Docusign option is what we did to get the form signed in the previous example. And the Docusign option is what we need to use here again in order to edit this PDF. So let's go ahead and click on Docusign. Okay, and this looks familiar, right? Because we're back in our envelope. We're back in our snail mail trail, okay? So we are stuffing our PDF into an envelope. And we can go ahead and name this. This is the offer to purchase, let's say. I'm going to add that in. If I need to add additional docs, I certainly can here. So if you wanted to send, let's say, the residential property disclosure with the offer, you can. Okay, we're adding our recipients here. So now you will only have two options to select from. So in this case, I'll go ahead and click Room Participants. So under Add Recipients, I clicked Room Participants, because I already have my clients added in, and I can see that my client is seller 1 and seller 2 here. So I want to go ahead and add them in here and click Add Selected. Okay, so my clients have been added in. You can add a message if you would like to, but you do not have to. And we can go ahead and click Next on the top right. Of course, if you're not ready to send this right now, you can always save and close, but let's go ahead and click Next for now. All right, and that will take you on over to the PDF, where we're really going to start using the fields on the left-hand side. Now you'll notice that these fields are yellow, which corresponds to my client on the top left here, right? She has a yellow dot, meaning that these fields correspond with that client. If I were to change it to Ronald Weasley, my other client, you'll see that these are all blue. All right, so this really comes into play for these signature fields. So if we come on down to the signature fields, so use your imagination, the buyer already signed this, okay? We now need to lay initial fields for our client to sign. So you'll see the signature fields near the top. So I want to go ahead and click the initial option here. Once I click on that option, it will start following my mouse. So I can then line that up where I'd like it to be on the form and click to drop that. So now, if I want to go ahead and add a field for my other client to sign, I need to change the drop down at the top, right? I need that color to be the yellow that corresponds to my other client. So I'll click on that. Now I can click on the initial option here. It'll start following my mouse, and I can click to drop that. Okay, so that's how you know you are adding both clients to be able to sign. So you don't want two blue initial fields, not two yellow. We want one of each color. So in practice, guys, when you're actually going through to do this, I mean, this form is 13 pages. You would want to stick and do one client at a time. So I would then go to the next one, add initial here, and lay it all the way down for all of my clients, or for that one client first. And then I would go through the form and change that over to my second client to lay that one down. So it's just less clicks, a little less time consuming that way. Okay, and you, again, as you've noticed probably from this class, you only have to lay the initial fields if this is a PDF you're sending off, right? Those interactive forms already had them on there, so that's of course a huge time saver. So now let's say we need to edit the form. So if you need to add any text fields, or if you need to strike through anything to make a counteroffer, let's say, let's take a look at how to do those items. So let's say we need to lay a text box. So on the left-hand side here, I'll click on text. It will start following my mouse. I can line it up on the form and click to drop it. Now you will notice it's blue, right? Which would prompt the client to sign. So off default, so on the right-hand side, when I lay this form down, on the right-hand side, it shows that Ronald Weasley is a required field for him to fill out. Okay, so you can do that. You know, let's say there's a section on the offer that says what objects don't convey with the property. You know, if you want your client to be able to fill that in, you can definitely lay a text box, and if it's blue, it will prompt that client to go ahead and fill that in. Okay, or let's say on the residential property disclosure is another great example, right? They need to fill out the information about the HVAC or the HOA, right? Some of that content they only know. So you can lay fields so that they will be required to fill that out. Okay, but if it is a field, let's say like we're putting in the due diligence amount, right? That's not typically a field that you want the client to be able to edit. So if that's the case, we'll lay the field and then just make sure to uncheck, first of all, we're unchecking required field and signing it as read only. So that if you give it a read only, that will make it so that your client cannot fill it out, but I can. So let's say I want the due diligence fee to be $2,000. Just a heads up, if let's say, as we were talking about in that example of, let's say the residential property disclosure and your clients need to fill in that content, right, because they know the information about their home, you can allow them to collaborate. So that would allow the husband and wife to both be able to fill in that field. Okay, so that's a pretty nifty one as well. So let's say we need to add a strike through and make a counter offer. Let's talk about how we would do that. So on the left-hand side, so you'll see a couple different options on the far left, and you'll see one that looks like a pencil, and those are your markup tools. So let's say I want a counter on this, or for whatever reason, let's say the client's name is Tony and he goes by Anthony, right, as his legal name. You can go ahead and click the line option here. It will start following your mouse, so you can click to drop that and mark out the name, okay, whatever you're trying to edit here. So once I strike that through, the next step would be going back to the standard fields, and that is the very top option here on the left side menu. So now I want to add in text. So I click on the text option, it follows my mouse. So now I can come over here and put in that his name is actually Anthony Stark legally. Again, I'm going to uncheck this field, so it's not a required field, and if you don't want your client to be able to fill that in or change it, you can select read only. And by the way, these fields are pretty small off default, so you can always click the dots on the corners of the field to drag and make that bigger. As I'm sure you've noticed, you do have a bunch of different options on the left-hand side as well, like signature fields. So very similar to the initial concept, right? Make sure if you're laying signature boxes, you are picking which client is the one that needs to sign. Of course, we have text boxes, check boxes, drop downs, and so forth. So you can play around with all of these options to add in anytime. All right, and when you are ready, so when this has been filled out, and you would want to make sure that you had added all the initial boxes on all the pages of your form. So when it's ready, you can go ahead and click send on the very top right. And you can also preview that as well though. I'll click send. And that'll take you back to your envelopes. So like I was talking about earlier, we now have our 2 envelopes here. So these are the 2 times so far that I have sent out documents in this Docusign room or in this transaction. And as you notice, I put what I was sending, right, just so I can easily see, what is in each envelope. That's why I did that there. All right. So you have now officially learned how to edit interactive forms and add PDFs. And I know that was a lot of information, guys, especially as you're going through it in an actual transaction. So I made little 10-minute videos on how to do both things that we mainly talked about today. So how to send interactive forms and how to add PDFs to be signed. So those are the two main topics we talked about, and they're short little 10, 15-minute max videos so that when you're actually going through this for a client, you can view that video and follow along so you don't have to watch this whole hour-long shindig here. All right, so feel free to save those. And let's take a look at just a couple different items here, and I'll let you go enjoy the rest of your day. So first of all, I just want to show you one thing in the document section. So if you can come back to the documents. I just want to show you that you can also bulk send or bulk edit things. So far I've shown you how to do one form at a time, but if you need to send multiple documents at a time to be electronically signed, you'll notice if I hover my mouse over the form, it gives me this little radio dot on the top left here. And when I select that dot, so keep an eye on this section right here on my screen. When I select that dot, it pulls up these bulk actions. So if I select multiple, I also have a select all option on the very top right. It will then give you these bulk actions that you can hover your mouse over in order to do that to multiple documents at a time. So hover your mouse over it, it'll tell you what the icon does. So we have the option to copy these forms to another Docusign room. So if the transaction fell through and you want to move or copy over the buyer agency agreement, let's say, you could do that here. You can also move the forms, so that would take the forms out of this Docusign room and move it to another room. You have the option to email it from here, combine the forms, which is pretty cool, Docusign them, and that's what we've been doing, right? We've been using that little pen icon to Docusign the forms that will take you on over to the envelope, so you can then edit the form and get it electronically signed. You can download the forms here as well, archive them, and also unarchive. Okay, so if let's say you're practicing or if the document falls through, you don't need it, you can absolutely archive that. Okay, so let's take a look at the top options here. On the top of our Docusign screen, so scroll up to the top. You do have a few options here. So the dashboard, that will show you an overview of your Docusign activity. So it will show you, and again, remember things take a couple seconds to load in Docusign from what I've seen. So in this dashboard, I can see my recently viewed rooms, so I can quickly navigate to my rooms that I'm using right now in my business. I can see any signing activity going on, new document access, and messages on the top right. So it's like an overview of everything for you. We have the Docusign Rooms at the top, so this will just show you your Docusign Rooms, right? Kind of like the .loop homepage. This will be like your Docusign homepage to view all of your rooms right away. Okay, and in this room section, you can toggle if you want to view it in a grid view on the top right or in a list view. Okay, that's totally up to you, whichever one jives in your brain better. It's just loading here, but that will load it in a list view as well to view your rooms that way. So either one, you can always switch back and forth. Our inbox here, let's talk about this one. So inbox, you can email forms directly into your Docusign account. So again, if you receive an email with, let's say, the executed offer to purchase, you can forward that email to your Docusign email address, which is on the top left here. And I'll show you in just a moment here how you can edit that. So you can send it to that, and it will put it in the inbox. So next time you're back at your computer, you can quickly move that document into your Docusign room. And lastly, we have the My Docs section, okay? And that will show you any documents that your office has added in. So you should see a forms section here if your office has added in those interactive forms. If they're not there yet, your office is still working with your with Docusign to get those added in. All right, so on the top right here, let's go ahead and I just want to show you where your settings are. I know we're running out of time, but the last thing I'm going to show you guys is how to add your documents into Command, which is really important. So if you can hang around for 2 more minutes, that'd be great. If not, I understand. But anyway, let's go ahead and click on Settings on the drop down from there. All right, you should see your headshot in a circle, or I believe your initial in a circle if you don't have a headshot entered in. So I'll click on Settings from that drop down. And we're not going to do this in today's class because we ran out of time. Sorry about that, guys. But go ahead and overview this section. Make sure all of your profile information is correct. And make sure your headshot is added in, right? There's so much spam and scamming going on across the internet. Okay, it makes your clients feel a lot better if they see a familiar face when they're going to sign a legal document to let them know that's legitimate. So make sure we go ahead and add in our headshot there as well. And you can add your logo in. On the left-hand side, you can go through all of these different things, but the main thing I want to show you, point out to your attention, is the inbox details. This is where you can change your email address. Off default, I think it's something super crazy with some numbers and stuff. So if you change it to your first and last name, that'll be a little more of a comprehensive email address that you can save to your address book. And I also have a short 10-minute video on how to email into Docusign. I know I didn't cover that fully, but you can also email directly into a Docusign room and into your Docusign inbox. So check that out if you would like to learn more on that. Okay, and the very last thing we're going to do in today's class is I'm going to show you how to add your documents to KW Command Opportunity so you can get paid, which is, I think, why we do this whole real estate thing. So when you open Docusign, it does open in a separate tab. So if you look at the top of your browser, you should see the inbox, or you should see Docusign in one tab and Command Documents in another tab. So we're going to click on that Command Documents tab to navigate on over back to Command. Now, so from here in this document section in our opportunity, again, as I mentioned earlier, this is where you'll be adding your forms to Command to send off to your market center so they can do compliance review and then cut your commission check. Okay, so what you would need to do from here, so I'm in this document section, you may see a couple different checklists, and these do look different depending on which market center you're in. So yours won't look like mine, but you can go ahead and see any checklists on the left-hand side. Once you have the form, all you would need to do is click Add a File on the very far right. And it will give you a few different options here. So since I started Docusign through this opportunity, I do have a Docusign option. So if I click on Docusign, it will show me any forms that I have in my Docusign room, which I can then click on that form and click Assign. Okay, so this is how you can pull in your Docusign forms into your command opportunity. So I'll click Assign. And that will show me right here that it's been uploaded. And I can see the form right here that I can click on as well. Okay, so you can go through and do that for each form. So, but let's say I had this, saved as a PDF on my computer, or I had it in .loop and I would like to save that to my computer first. Okay, if that is the case, again, I saved it to my computer first, and then you will be able to manually upload that by dragging and dropping here, or clicking to browse your computer to pull that in right away. Okay, so you can pull it in that way as well. And once you're ready, you would click Submit to MC on the very top right in order to submit that to your market center so they can do compliance review on your opportunity. Okay, so you can get paid. All right, guys, so that was a Docusign 101 class. If you have any questions at all, does it show all forms or by client? So it may be helpful to rename each document by adding name of client or address at the end of this portion. Great question. So that when it pulls from Docusign, it will be only pulling from this Docusign room that we created. So it does tie to only this transaction. So when you click on Docusign, it's not pulling in, from all of your Docusign forms, only for this transaction specifically, because this command opportunity is tied to your Docusign room. Hopefully that answers your question there. But yeah, it definitely doesn't hurt to go ahead and rename the forms and add your client. Yeah, no problem. Definitely doesn't hurt to rename your form and add your client's name. That's always helpful for organization. Definitely. Great idea. All right, guys. But yeah, if you have any other questions at all, I am more than happy to help you through this whole Docusign transition. I know it's a lot to learn. So please feel free to email support@scottloraymarketing.com. Put attention to my name, which is Leah. And those questions I couldn't answer for you guys in class today, I will definitely make sure to give you an answer on that. All right, guys. Let me know how I can help out, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care, guys.